Hey there, good evening everybody, and welcome here on Sunday night to the new show we're doing called the Great Album Challenge here on the Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So I've been at Ben, told him that I'd like to do a new show, do something a little bit different, but I wanted to do something that was a bit of a ranking type of thing, because I don't do a lot of rankings. I haven't done a lot of rankings, and I know that a lot of people like that show that I do Wednesday called Favorites, so I wanted to expand it a little bit, but I also wanted to have him included in it because he does the Ben's Album Challenge every Sunday night, and we decided at some point we want to maybe space that out a little bit so to keep it a little bit fresh. So I came up with this idea of doing this album challenge that we're doing tonight, which is basically Ben is he's agreed to pick a year in rock history and give me 10 of his favorite albums from that year. Now he's chosen to not have any genre specific, but he has that option if he decides he wants to do a favorite genre or his favorite type of music, rock music of course. Then that's going to be to his discretion. But for tonight, he's chosen the year of his birth, 1977, and he's given me 10 albums and asked me to rank those albums according to how I view them. This was actually probably, in the annals of rock history, this has got to be right up there with one of my 2 or 3 favorite years of all time. The albums he gave me, the top 7 of them, are absolutely split by hairs. Any one of them could change it. I actually did change a couple of them around a few times, and I'm still not 100% satisfied with this. This was tough, very tough to rank these albums. You know, I've got an album in 7th position here that is among my favorite albums. It's just it pains me to do that, but that's what he's given me, so that's what we're going to do. So he's given me 10 albums from 1977 to rank, and I've ranked them according to my own preference. I'll talk a little bit about the albums and why I like them so much, or why they're so low on the list. So we're going to go and start off with, I know people are going to be amazed that this album is in 10th of these albums, but I've never really taken to this band very well. I've tried. I bought this album. I've got a couple of their albums. I've tried to get into them, but for some reason it's just not catching with me. Maybe sometime in the future it will, but at the moment it still isn't catching. But I do appreciate the complexity of this album. I appreciate the artwork is fantastic on it. The vocals are among the best in rock, I believe. Some great musicianship here, but it just doesn't catch with me, so I had to rank it in number 10. And that's Kansas Point of No Return. I know you're going, what? Are you out of your mind? This album's got to be in the top 2 or 3. I get it. I understand it. And I encourage everybody to rank these albums according to how they feel about them. And if they don't like the albums chosen, they can rank 10 other ones. There's lots of albums came out in 1977, a lot of great stuff. This is just the 10 that Ben gave me. I assume these are all the ones that he likes the best. I'm sure he's going to rank them according to how he likes on this video. I hope he does, so that we can see how similar or dissimilar we are. Anyways, coming in at number 10, Kansas Point of No Return. Next up, I don't own this album. I don't, but I have listened to it. I have listened to it a couple times online. I do like it, but because it's still so new to me and I haven't really had a lot of opportunity to view it, I had to put it in the 9th spot. I liked it a little bit more based on the 2 listens than I did on the Kansas, and that's Eloy's Oceans. Yeah, another great album by Eloy. They have a plethora of them. Just this particular one I don't own. Okay, the next album up, of course, was a monster album, monster hit. Sold a ton of records. I think it was like 7 million copies sold initially. It might be in the 20s now. I don't know. I haven't looked. Some great vocals. This has some of the greatest vocalists in rock. The music is so catchy. A lot of tracks here are steady regulars on rock AM, FM radio stations now, and I do like this album a lot. It's quite good. It's my favorite by this group. I really think the dual female vocals on this, and you know where I'm going with this. Of course, we're talking about Rumours, Fleetwood Mac. So this is my number 8 choice. I know. Can you believe it? Rumours is in 8th. Yeah, wow. Such a good year, though. You know, it's really hard. Now, the next one is going to surprise people because this is one of my favorite bands of all times. I love a lot of their stuff, and I even love this album quite a bit. It's not a masterpiece album for me, but I do like it. It's like, it has, you know, any album that has Awaken on it has to be a masterpiece album. It's so good. You've got Going for the One here, Turn of the Century, Parallels, which is kind of the commercial hit here, and Wondrous Dreams, which I really like a lot. That's that John Anderson kind of vocal thing. The album is, I think this is a I can't think what it's called. This is an unusual album cover for Yes. They tend to stick with Roger Dean, but this is not a bad album cover. Great album, fantastic. Unfortunately, it came out in '77, and there's just 6 more that are better than it, in my opinion. But still a great album. The song Awakening is among my favorite Yes songs. For many people, this will be right up there in the top 2 or 3, I'm sure. So that was number 7. So now we're getting into the top 6. Not much separating these ones. Well, maybe the next 3 are a little bit less, or yeah, maybe the top 3 for sure. There's a hair splitting them. But this album at one time would have been right up there amongst my favorites. Definitely was a top 20 of all time album at one time. It's kind of burned out over the years, but it is such a classic album by this group. So many great songs on this, so many hits, and you know, some of the greatest prog music that this band has ever done. And I don't even think of them as a prog band, but this is definitely a prog, like a lot of prog on this album. And we're talking about one of my favorite bands, Styx. So there you go, Yes, and then Styx. So Styx is coming in at 6th, man. Can you believe Grand Illusion in the 6th spot? Who would have thought it? Such a great album. Harmony vocals are fantastic. The prog on here, Castle Walls and Man in the Wilderness, top shelf prog songs. I love them. The Grand Illusion, one of my favorite songs to sing. Such a great one. Come Sail Away, I love that tune too. It's a little bit on the overkilled side. Superstars, another great one. And then of course you have Miss America, that James Young fantastic vocal song. Yeah, so this is number 6, Styx's Grand Illusion. Okay, now we're in the top 5. So number 5 I do not own, and it's not for lack of trying to find it, but I just have not found it. I owned it in vinyl. I owned it on cassette. I actually had it on CD at one time, and I do not own it anymore. I do not even know what happened to my CD or my cassette. I know what happened to the vinyl, my sister's collection now. But I love this album. It's amongst my favorite albums by this group. In fact, it's probably my second favorite album from this group. But it's such a great album. So many great hits on it. We're talking about AC/TC's Let There Be Rock album. You know, a whole lot of Rosie, Problem Child, Killer, Let There Be Rock. You know, just such a fantastic hard rock and roll album, man. I love it. Definitely an album near the top of my list that I want to get and get it again. So the next one comes from a band. I almost debated. I almost put the AC/DC ahead of this. It was ahead of it originally, but I just thought, no, I've been listening to this album. It's the only one in this list today that's actually in my playlist, and I owned it before. I owned it on cassette. I owned it on vinyl. I just think it's an amazing album. Probably one of the band's very best albums. And we're talking about Heart's Little Queen. Such a good album. Just put my glass on. Of course, we all know the perennial rock and roll heavyweight on this album, Barracuda. A great song, but overplayed to a point of exhaustion. Love Alive, I love that tune. The Sylvain song. Dream of the Archer, another killer track. Kick It Out, that's a little bit of a poppy track, but I don't mind that one. Little Queen, of course, is great. Treat Me Well, Say Hello. Cry to Me is one of the best Heart songs. I love that song. Ann Wilson is at top form on this album, as she is on most of the early Heart songs. She just has one of those voices that is out of the league of most other singers, but so good to hear on this album. And the guitar playing, all of the instrumentation is so good on here. This is such a fine album. So that's my number 4. The top 3, damn, it was tough. It was very tough. I could put any of these are all masterpiece albums. They're all masterpieces in my collection. Could have easily put any of the 3 at the top, but I had to put them in an order, and so I put them in the order that I probably prefer them right at the moment. But if you come back tomorrow, they might be in a different order. So this one was originally in the top spot, and I moved it down. We're talking about Pink Floyd's Animals. Maybe their best album. My favorite of their albums. I just love everything about this album. I love the cover. I love the whole feel of the album. Dogs is a killer song. Some of Gilmour's great guitar playing on this. He cements himself as one of the best guitar players in prog rock history for sure. I think Pete Waters. Roger Waters, so good. Bass is strong here. This album is heavy too. For a Pink Floyd album, it's a very heavy album. Like, I love Sheep. Pigs, the 3 different ones, that part is good. And then the 2 ends, Pigs on a Wing 1 and Pigs on a Wing 2. Such a great album that Pink Floyd doesn't know really how to do anything that's really bad. But this is great. This is the creme of the creme. So that's number 3. Number 3, yeah, sure. So number 2, if you'd done this back in the 80s, would have been number 1, hands down, because none of these other albums existed for me, except for maybe Heart and Styx's album at that time. But this album is so good, with so many great tracks on it. And probably the one song on this album is the most listened to song by me in my history, in my life. And we're talking about Rush's Farewell to Kings. I know you're all saying, oh my God, somebody beat Rush? Are you kidding me? Yeah, I am. No, I'm not. I chose something else because I just love the next album. But this one, Farewell to Kings and Xanadu, is there any 2 tracks on any other album in rock history that are better together than those 2? I don't think so. Those are my 2 favorite together tracks. Close to the Heart, nice kind of rock stable, radio staple. Cinderella Man was always one of my favorites on this album. I think it's just such good vocals here by Geddy Lee. I love the guitar parts. This album is prolific with such fantastic riffing too. Mad Rigel, that's what I call it. I know other people use a different word to describe it. That's the way I call it. Another good tune. And then Cygnus X1, which I really wasn't a big fan of when I was younger, has long been eclipsing that. It's just such a fantastic guitar part. Just leads right into Hemispheres, So Rush's Farewell to Kings, number 2 today. I wouldn't have said that 10 years ago, 2 years ago I wouldn't have, but today, the number 1 album, Another one of my favorite bands. So you've got Rush, Styx, and yes, three of my top of my group of 8, and this is another one of the group of 8. This is a killer album. I love every track on here. If I had to do an album song rating, I couldn't do it. There's just every track on here I love, and it just one track right after another. This is my favorite, probably my favorite album by this group. And I discovered this in 2006 when I first went my solo way, and I played this to death. Like, I wore that album out. I don't even have that copy of the CD anymore. I got another one, and this one is not looking too good, let me tell you. Yeah, it's really harsh. Look at that. Scratched up and everything from playing it so much. This is Jethro Tull's Songs from the Wood, #1. Had to be #1 today. If you come here a couple weeks ago, might have been #3. If you come here in a month or so, might be #6. I don't know, but for today, Songs from the Wood wins this for me, #1. So I'm just going to reiterate them just in case you're keeping track here. So you got Jethro Tull, Songs from the Wood at #1. Oh, I didn't even say much about this album because I was so excited. Yeah, Songs from the Wood, great tune, one of my favorite songs to sing. I've long been singing this song. Jack and the Green, one of the most underrated Jethro Tull tunes. Cup of Wonder, another great song that I love to sing. Hunting Girls, probably my favorite on this album. It's definitely in my top 5 favorite Jethro Tull songs. Ring Out Solstice Bells, really underrated but great song. Velvet Green, oh, I love this tune so much. It's just so catchy. The Whistler, of course, the Whistler, eh? Pip Rock, Cap in Hand, and Fire at Midnight, both such good songs. This whole album is just a masterpiece in my opinion. This album immediately became, as soon as it hit the masterpiece eligibility, it was a masterpiece right away. It's one of my favorite albums of all time. I just love it. So anyways, now that we've done that, we can go back and I can reiterate them. I forgot all about talking about that album. So you got Jethro Tull's Songs from the Wood, #1. Rush's A Farewell to Kings, #2. Pink Floyd, #3. Imagine Pink Floyd, #3. Sure. Animals. #4 is Heart's Little Queen. Such a good, look at that. Such a nice picture. It's so atmospheric, and really the music sounds like the way it looks. To me, Heart originally sounded a lot like, they had a lot of Jethro Tull sound to their music, in my opinion. The next up, #5, I wrote it on a piece of paper, AC/DC, but it's not showing up. There it is. Let There Be Rock, great album. #6, Styx, Grand Illusion. #7, Yes's Going for the One. Hypnosis, that's the name of the group, the people that did the cover for this. Okay, where were we? #7? That was #7, right? #8, Fleetwood Mac's Rumors. Imagine a list that has Fleetwood Mac's album as 8th on the list. Yeah, sure. Then we got Eloy here. Probably can't see it. Yeah, Eloy, Oceans, #9. And finally, The Point of No Return by Kansas. And this, I think for many people, this will be a top 3, top 4 album for sure. And people that love Kansas definitely will put them up there. And I do apologize for not being a huge Kansas fan. It almost seems like a no-brainer. You like Styx, you love Styx. Are they that much different from Kansas? I don't know. I don't think so, but I just don't feel the same way. But anyways, they come in at #10, the last place, but such a great album, right? How can you go wrong with anything that has Dust in the Wind? has to be considered a good album. So there you have it. Those are my rankings of the 10 albums for the Great Album Challenge of 1977. And we'll be back in a couple weeks again with another year. And we'll leave that to Ben on his whatever he feels like doing, and whatever 10 albums he wants to pick. I'm sure this will be as good as this one. This one was a great start. One of my favorite years. As you can see, you got, when Kansas comes in at number 10, that's a fantastic year, right? So anyways, I hope you like the episode and that you'll support it and come back and watch the next one when we do it in a couple weeks. It was very enjoyable to do this. I thank Ben for taking the time to do this and come up with those 10 albums, great albums. And please like and subscribe. It's much appreciated. If you want to give me your 10 albums, you can do that. If you want to rank the 10 that I did, you can do that as well. I'm sure Ben will rank these 10 according to how he sees them. I'm actually kind of interested to see how he sees these 10 albums. But anyway, you have yourself a good evening, and we will be back next Sunday with Ben's album challenge. So take care. Bye.